Welcoming traveler. Get ready to level up in Dynasty football.
Good evening, all of you beautiful people. Holy smokes, there's a lot of people in here. If you're on YouTube, you can see all the lovely faces. If you're listening to the replay on Spotify, go to YouTube. It's better because then you can see Chuck smiling. I am joined by a slew of people from all sorts of different sites and different backgrounds. Instead of going through and introducing everybody one at a time, we're just going to jump right into this Superflex Dynasty rookie mock draft. It's going to be a blast. And here we go. So, 101, instead of making this long and drawn out, I'm just going to skip to the chase. Caleb Williams, 101. I am your host, FF Mike Cash.
Boo. Host privileges. I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, it would have been weird if you introed and then threw it to me. So,
what's up, everyone? I'm Bernie from Fantasy Football Astronauts. I'm going to take my favorite player in the draft here. I think he can be relatively situation-proof, but I still am holding out hope that he ends up in Minnesota. Recent rumors seem like that might still be a possibility. It might look like a reach to some, but I'm here to take my guys, and I think that's what everyone playing Dynasty Football should do. So I'm taking Drake May. The selection's in. My comp for him is Matt Stafford. I love his aggressiveness in the middle of the field, testing intermediate windows. I see him manipulate defenders with his eyes, make big-time throws, and I'm stoked to be able to get what I think would be QB1 in most drafts here with the second pick.
great pick. No qualms. Next up, we got Sam.
What's up, guys? I'm Sam from Yards Per Fantasy. I did not expect to be in this position. So I can't really let Marvin Harrison Jr. Roll past me. So
you can if you want to. I don't mind taking.
I cannot. For some reason, my sleeper is not updating.
Well, lucky for you, the commission's here to save the day.
Please do. I'll just say real quick. Obviously there's prospect fatigue. But I mean, we all know who he is, whether it's people saying Neighbors is the one or Marvin's the one. We've known Marvin was the wide receiver one for quite a while now, so I can't let him get past number 3.
So you weren't even entertaining the idea of taking Malik Neighbors there, just Marv or bust?
Marv or bust. Actually, in numerous leagues, I'm touting him as 101.
Ooh, spicy. Next up, we got Chris.
Love it. Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris from Fantasy and Frames and Club FFL. Anytime I get to hang around with Dirty Mike and the boys, it's always going to be a good time. So I'm here for it. At the 104, I'm going to bypass Jaden Daniels here just because I think he ends up in New England, and I'm not going to like him on New England with the weapons he's got around him. And I'm going to take Malik Neighbors, the wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 to some, absolute stud with and without the ball. At the 1-4, I don't hate it at all.
Man, we are just skipping over quarterbacks, sliding into the wide receivers. Next up, we have Out of Rhythm Fantasy. Thanks for coming on the show, buddy.
Hey, Mike. Well, thank you. I appreciate you let me join you. I know you got hopped on one of our streams here not too long ago, and it was a blast with my co-host. Like most of you guys don't know, but yes. Well, I was gonna say my co-host is Fashion Me like as Mike would have said, anyways. But since this is the 5th pick in this draft, I'm going to go with one of my favorite players that I've kind of been watching here most of last season. And that is Rome Odunze, with, being in the Pac-12 and with him being with Penix Jr., even though it was a high-flying offense over there. But yes, I'm going to go with Rome because, in some of my drafts, I'm actually kind of in the 6th or 7th, and I'm hoping maybe he lands that far. I don't have a comp for him right now at the moment, but I like what he brings to the field, and he can slot in there really, really quick.
I tell you what, Jerry, thanks for commenting. Everybody needs a bigger screen to just see more of the beautiful things that are going on here. We've got too many people, too big of personalities. Next up, we have Busty Chuck Bass in all of his glory. Chuck, starting Twitter feeds today?
Yeah, I've been called a piece of shit amateur. What else we got? Casual, non-ball knower, liberal snowflake, and what was the other one? Liberal snowflake and MAGA cuck. So to get called both of those in the same day is pretty impressive. So I'm not feeling very good right now because I just wanted any of the three guys that just got taken, and I just got, it's like they're calling me those names with their picks, so I don't feel very strongly about that. So I just kind of have to go with my gut here, and I'm taking the big dog after I saw him do a backflip on the NFL Twitter feed today. I'm taking Brock Bowers. I don't need to litigate his skills; they're very well known. I just feel that it's time. It's time for something to put this narrative to bed that can't draft a tight end early, that they can't be successful early, all that nonsense that we all hear and shake our heads at and all that stuff. So give me the big dog, and I'll feel pretty good because on this team, I'm assuming my tight end is Herb Smith, and I need to shore up the line.
I mean, if you have Herb Smith, you should probably be drafting Brock Bowers here, Jatavion Sanders later, Ben Sinnott after that, Eric all in the fourth. You're just swinging all over the place.
Waiting for that late breakout still.
Of course, still waiting, but I am joined as always by my co-host, Evan. Evan just finished building the Titan Stadium with his hands, and now he's here to draft probably a big faller right now.
Yeah, giant faller at this point. Jaden Daniels, even if he goes to the Patriots, look, I get it. The situation is not pretty at all. But if you're going to tell me that I can get a quarterback that will be able to get me a sizable chunk of points on the ground and still be able to put up some kind of passing points, I mean, you know what? 107? Yeah, I'll take Jaden Daniels as a faller here.
I tell you what, this is the obligatory "the draft starts here" message.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes.
I am joined by Dan. Dan, time to get into the meat and potatoes. A lot of people don't know who to take at the 1-8. I appreciate you diving on this grenade. Tell people what you're thinking and where you're coming from.
Well, I definitely tried to steal it from Chuck because I didn't want to fuck with this grenade at all. So I don't know. I think one of the things here with a Superflex draft, right? So I'm probably looking at after those first three wide receivers, I see kind of a lot of, basically a similar tier there. As far as some of these guys goes, I know there's some people that are higher on Brian Thomas. I get it. The upside is tantalizing there, but as far as kind of safety goes and looking at kind of how guys hold their value here, especially with some of the talk that we're seeing around him, I'll go JJ McCarthy here, Mike. Look for kind of that insulated value of the quarterback that goes pretty high in the draft, and we'll see where he lands. But if he lands somewhere in like Minnesota, like I think you start to see him get pushed up the conversation quite a bit here in Superflex drafts. But
yeah, love the pick. I think the beginning of the draft season, everybody, the casuals were sitting around and being like, oh, he didn't throw that many passes. And I was one of those casuals. And then I decided to actually watch Michigan football, but only filter by the pass plays, which I tell you what, makes the games like way shorter. But it's a blast to watch him play. He can move in the pocket well. He can work through his reads. Do you need me to click McCarthy for you? Or you got it?
I'll take it, bud.
All right. Next up, we are joined by Thad Castle's a profile picture. Supernova is a name. Is there a better aura than for Pete right now? Pete, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Part of the Face Off Sports Network. Happy to be here. I wanted to go JJ McCarthy. Not that upset having Brian Thomas fall to me. I'll probably get some heat for it, but I think Brian Thomas is actually closer to Odunze than Odunze is to Neighbors and Marvin Harrison. I mean, he's a freak. You're in like a 4.33 40 time, and I mean, he's 6'3". I think he's everything we wanted Quentin Johnston to be, but better. So I'm going to go with Brian Thomas, hoping he goes to a team like the Bills or the Chiefs. That would be my hope, but I'll take Brian Thomas, and I'll be pretty happy too.
He is the early favorite for somebody to draft him in a great, great offense, and everybody just fall head over heels about him. But we have exciting news. It's the 110. It's the back of the first. And Toasty McRoasty, Tim himself, is about to make the best pick that the world has ever seen. Tim, who are you picking?
I am going to take Xavier Worthy. I feel like at this point, this pick has gone a number of different ways, most likely. The draft will sort all of this out for us, but as of right now, I'm going to take this kid. I like the way he plays. I think he's like really strong at the catch point. Forget the whole setting the record at the combine. That stuff doesn't really mean anything to me. I mean, he's got a lot of tape. We've seen this kid play for a couple years. Not going to overthink this.
There it is. All right, so just to quickly recap the first round, we have Caleb Williams, 101, Drake May, 102, Marvin Harrison Jr., 103, Malik Neighbors, 1-4, Roma Dunze, 1-5, Bowers, Daniels, McCarthy, and to close it out, the fast boys, Brian Thomas and Xavier Worthy. Which leaves me sitting here at the 201. I mean, it's tough. 101, now I get the 201. Probably should have snaked this to make it a little more fair, but I'm going to go with my running back one in the class, who I think is being slept on and underrated. Go with Trey Benson. He is an asteroid floating through space. And I need to know draft capital for these receivers before I'm able to sort them. I can see the talent with Trey Benson, and I'm excited for him wherever he goes.
Let's be real. You took the first overall pick so that you could pick Benson 201, didn't you?
Well, I'm in love with him. If you guys haven't seen it, I did a film study on him. I'm head over heels. I think that he probably would have been the running back 3 last year and in the running with, the J.K. Dobbins in the past. So I have a lot of good things to say about Trey. I can talk about him all night, but you guys didn't come here for that. Let's get to the 2-2.
All right. Well, Mike, you just sniped me there with Trey Benson. I agree with you on running back 1 with a bullet. Yeah, I think he kind of reminds me of Breece Hall, honestly, with how he tested and how he runs as well. But my backup plan here is my running back 2, who I don't think is that far behind him. I'm going to take Jonathan Brooks. His play style reminds me a bit of Alvin Kamara, and I think he's pretty situation proof as well. Seems to be thought of that he's going to Dallas in the second round, which I think would be a good fit. But I also think his skill set is pretty translatable to any offense. He can catch the ball, run zone, and gap scheme. So I'm a Brooks fan, and I'm happy to get him here.
Yeah, great pick. I mean, running back 2, but there's going to be people that are sitting here laughing about why we're taking running backs before these wide receivers. But I think there's a clear tier break after Worthy where you got to figure out, do you believe in A.D. Mitchell with the terrible metrics but the immense film talent when he wants to? Troy Franklin, who some people think he's Jalen Hyatt, some people think he's Devontae Smith, but stretched out. Like, you got to just really pick your poison here. And I'm comfortable going with running backs. Sam, what are you comfortable with now?
I'm picking the other poison.
Okay.
I am not surprised at all to see BTJ and Worthy go where they went. I think they went the right place. I look at that as a trio tier, and I think the third person in that tier is Troy Franklin. And in fact, he's my wide receiver 4 of this class. I do view him more as the Devontae Smith as opposed to the Jalen Hyatt. He's got good athleticism. He doesn't have quite the vertical that some of the other guys do, but we're splitting hairs at an inch or an inch and a half. So I'm really excited to get Franklin. Benson was originally my pick, and I plan on getting him and most others.
Yeah, some people are going to really fall head over heels for Franklin. He is flirting with that wide receiver 5 range for me right now. But if we need somebody to talk about player evaluation, I know Chris is going to find a hidden gem right here.
No, not me at all. Not right in the second round. At least not in the second round. I'm going to stop the fall of Adonai Mitchell. Not the biggest fan of the guy, but I think he gets the draft capital. There's a lot of talk of him going in that first round, possibly to Buffalo. Pete Schrager just mocked him to Buffalo. So if he ends up in a spot like that on that offense or any one of those offenses in the back end of the draft, I think it's going to be a good situation for him. So I'm going to take Adonai Mitchell over here and stop the fall.
Great choice. I wouldn't have made that pick, but that's why I have you on the show, to be more brave than I am. That's all right. Out of further than what you got.
I know. I'm trying to decide here on who I want to actually take here, and I have Odunze, but with maybe the small lack of tight ends out there, I actually
Pretty
might go
cool.
with this. I might go with the second best guy on this. Is Ben Sinnott. Is I think he's the next. Since we kind of actually dove into him, and we like what he brought to the yard. He actually he's kind of like the Mike Ostelot of tight ends, the big back from from the Buccaneers, and he kind of resembled that a little bit, and he's kind of a bruiser and whatnot. So I mean, he's good after the catch, but he has to work on his route running just a smudge, because it's not the greatest, but once he gets to the NFL, it actually will probably like fine tune that. So that's who I'm going to pick here. I'm going to take Ben Sinnott if I can find him on here somewhere.
Yeah, you got to scroll way down, brother.
Do I?
Oh yeah. Here, I got
There
you.
he is. All right, there he is. Gotcha.
Nice. Some manual work.
Here we go. Look at me scrolling all the way.
Making work for those views.
Making me scroll. But I tell you what, in some early mock drafts, we've seen some pros in the field. Mock Ben's not in the second round, so the buzz is going to continue to build. People are going to get excited about it. This could be a really early flag plant for you, and I love it.
The landing spot is key there too. I mean, he could end up in a really favorable position.
100%.
You have to think about it too. I mean, it all depends on if he does land into a nice situation. He could be the tight end one right away. He won't. He might not even be behind anybody too. On top of it.
Yeah, that would be lovely. But now we have Chuck, who he's staring at Jaheim Bell, just really excited about him. But let's see if he goes a different route.
There's something you guys should know about me is that I have a type and I dig my heels in and I never change. I like my receivers to have a lot of heart, intangibles, someone you'd like to date your daughter, a lunch pail guy, scrappy, high motor, sneaky athletic, gritty, a winner, plays the game the right way. Sometimes they can be deceptively fast. We're to the point in the draft where I'm not really worried about ceiling as much as I want a guy that I know is going to be a solid pro for a long time. So give me the big dog's little dog in Ladd McConkey.
I thought you were going to take Ricky Pearsall.
He's a coach on the field.
he plants it deep.
I don't have enough street cred to draft Ricky Pearsall. I need to work on building a rap sheet or something before I can go down that.
Have you guys seen the tattoo that it's the roulette table that has dice throwing across it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he's played roulette in his life, but
I can't sit here with no tattoos and no pair of Nikes that I own and draft Ricky Pearsall. It's just not going to fly.
I'm about to throw on my Jordans just to draft him later, but Evan, are you interested in Ricky Pearsall here? Or you want to take Roman Wilson, or do you have a different flavor of receiver you'd like?
Yeah, I had Ladd McConkey all queued up, so I'm pretty bitter at Chuck here. But with that being said, at this point, I mean, it feels like the time to be able to go another running back. I haven't been a huge fan, but I know enough people are, and every mock is looking like he's getting third-round draft capital, which is enough for me to buy into Blake Corum here. The college production that you have from Corum, the potential that he could end up in a good landing spot. I mean, there's enough what-ifs with him that I think, especially at this point, if you want to project to it, go for it. So the two running backs have already gone off the board that I think are the clear 1-2, and you got to plant your flag on somebody to be a 3. Do I like planting my flag on Corum? No, but it's at least somewhere to plant it.
I cannot wait for Jim Harbaugh to take Blake Corum and give him 300 touches this year. It is going to be hilarious. It's going to be an art piece. But you know what else is art? Dan Wisner about to make a beautiful pick. Let's see it, Dan.
Well, you made my decision a little bit easier there, because honestly, with him kind of staring at me in the face there was getting to a point where all I could think about was Harbaugh drafting him. But I'll pivot to wide receiver, and probably not the wide receiver that most people are thinking here. This guy's actually my wide receiver 7 on the board, over somebody like Adonai Mitchell, who kind of went at the 2-4. But He's got some nice film. Jetpack has done some phenomenal stuff on some of what he's done from a film perspective, and his raw production ain't there that we'd quite like to see, but some of his per route stuff is really encouraging. I'll go Jermaine Burton here.
Wow. Love it.
I mean, he feels like a Steeler. He's going to fight the corner 3 minutes after the play is over. He's going to get a DUI on Saturday, but still play on Sunday. It's everything you want out of a wide receiver at the next
He
level.
definitely checks some of those Pittsburgh boxes. There's no doubt about that.
Man, can't wait to see it. But all right, Pete, who you got? Tell us a little bit about him. We're starting to get deep, so the people at home need to understand where your vibes are at.
I'll give the best analysis I can to keep the vibes up. I'm gonna go with a guy who, he's not the sexiest pick, but I think given where the board is and the importance at quarterback, I'm gonna go with Bo Nix here. Look, I'm of the opinion that I'm a Broncos fan, and I don't think Denver's gonna be able to trade up. I think he is the most likely quarterback to go there. And if you're going to pair Sean Payton with a rookie quarterback that's extremely accurate, prototypical size, he's 6'2", sees the field pretty well, I'm going to take a chance on a guy like that. So Bo Nix is who I'm going to take here. And I think a lot of people forget that, Justin Herbert coming out of Oregon threw a lot of screens, threw a lot of short game passing, and people didn't think he was going to have, or at least blow up to the level that he did. Now, I'm not saying Nix is at that level, but I think there's a reason that people take shots at him for his short passing and all that in that offense. So I'm going to go Nix here just for the value at quarterback here at the late second round. That's a good fit.
I mean, you guys heard it here first. Bo Nix is the next Justin Herbert.
Jesus Christ.
I have a new rule. I call it the Kenny Pickett rule. If it's an old quarterback that was elevated by his weapons that looked like poop for 3 years, I'm out. And Bo Nix checks all those boxes to me. But if he gets first-round draft capital, he's going to have a job. And a job.
Hey, I'll take the miss in the second round on a first-round quarterback that's got the draft capital. If I miss, I miss. But if I hit,
I will always swing on a first-round quarterback at the 2-9. Yeah. I just feel like year and year again, we're like, oh my gosh, there's going to be 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Oh my, there's going to be 6. Wait, there might even be, and every year it doesn't pan out. So I cap it at 4. We'll see if Nick sneaks in there. But Toasty, what you got?
Well, just to echo everything he said about strategy, Superflex, quarterbacks. Taking a guy I've been really high on now for a couple years. Very privileged to have a position to write about college players with the Fantasy Football Astronauts. Last year, 2022, and then last year in 2023. I'm a father. What the hell is time anyway? I have really liked Michael Penix. I understand the concerns with the health. I understand that the national championship game was probably his worst game in Washington. I believe in this kid. I think he's going to get drafted a lot higher than people are thinking. And at the 210 all day.
Yeah, sounds great. Real quick, we're going to have Evan run through all the picks in the second to give me some time to look at the board. Evan.
Try and buy Mike a little bit of time here. And, apparently that's what I do on the show. I'm just here to do Mike's bidding. So the 2-1, we got Trey Benson, followed by Jonathan Brooks, Troy Franklin, Adonai Mitchell, Ben Sinnott, Vlad McConkey, Blake Corum, Jermaine Burton, Bo Nix, and then Michael Penix to round out the end of the second round for us. All right, Mike.
I love it. Time? That is enough time.
That recap was very meat and potatoes.
I mean,
what can I say? It's the best.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes.
Oh, sorry, my hand slipped. I don't know how that happened.
At least it's not the Justin Fields one.
We're elbow deep in meat and potatoes right now.
The Justin Fields one is electric. The fans are in the comment section begging for it. They need to see it. Listen, rule number 1 of drafting is know who you're drafting with. I know that Dan's a smart guy. I know that Tim's a smart guy. I'd like to thank Evan for coming on the show. Javon Baker he's just been balling. And everybody and their mom in this room has been on Javon Baker for a while. If I let him slide, he's not making it back to me. There's plenty of guys I'm excited to see on the way back. Give me a little Baker. He struggles to separate, but I've seen some elite body control, and I will buy into the tools that he has and he can grow into it, as opposed to letting him slide and then not getting him later. Who's next?
Awesome.
Here.
I'm up with the 3-2. So I own one pair of Jordans and I have no tattoos, but I am still going to take Ricky Pearsall here. I love his polish. I think he can slide in right away and push for snaps in 2 receiver sets. I don't think he's a slot only player. I love his route running. He's great on double moves. I think if he ends up in Jacksonville, particularly, or maybe Buffalo, if they don't go receiver in the first round, I think those are 2 great spots for him. But I really think anywhere he goes, his polish is going to push him up the depth chart to compete for meaningful snaps early. And I think getting a receiver that good in the 3rd round is kind of why I went running back in the 2nd round, because the drop off there is much steeper.
That makes sense. Out of Rhythm's going to laugh because when I guested on his show, I came on and I said Ricky Pearsall is not going to be a thing for fantasy football. I don't see it. I don't see the vision. And now everyone and their mom has been hyping him up. So I'll bite that bullet for now, but we'll see how he pans out. Sam.
Yeah, you got me again. First it was Benson, then it was Baker, and I had the same thought. I was like, he's not going to make it back to me. He's not going to make it back to me. I'll take him. But as long as we're reaching, then I guess I'll reach for my next best, which is Malachi Corley. I'm excited about this dude, man. His frame is big. After the catch, he just runs like his pants are on fire. And he's really, really elusive. He's hard to bring down, for a guy that's his size. He looks a little unassuming. I think until you get your arms around him, and then you're like, there's a lot of power in his lower body. So I'm excited about Corley. I'm not taking the risk that he's not going to make it back to me. He's one of my guys. I'm not waiting until 4-3 to see if he's still there.
Every time somebody comps him to Deebo Samuel, an angel loses their wings, and I do 5 push-ups. I'm going to get jacked by the end of this draft season. But it's a good pick. Do you need me to go ahead and slide him in here for you?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I got it.
Beautiful. All right. Chris, let it rip.
Yeah, well, I was going to take Malachi Corley there. I love the player. My comp for him is Deebo Samuel, so I was kind of hoping that I wouldn't get sniped there, but not. Sorry, my little guy's here with me, but I'm going to take 20-year-old running back, Braylon Allen. My guess is that he gets drafted to the Dallas Cowboys, and being as young as he is, dynasty here in the 3rd round. If it's a 12-teamer, it's back end 2nd. I like the pick as the RB4 off the board. Just an absolute stud of a running back, and taking him as the RB4, taking him, projecting him to go to Dallas or into a situation where they're going to utilize his assets. To me, I love it, man.
Heck yeah. We love having the little man on the show. Thanks for tuning in, big guy. I hope you're having fun because your dad is a blast to be around. I'll go ahead and set this pick for you so you can hold your boy. But
I didn't make the last pick.
What's that? Oh, yeah. Chris, let your son make the last pick.
Yeah.
You guys don't want that smoke, man. He's a good researcher.
Yeah. But no, I love the Braylon Allen pick because if he misses, he's still going to have the age for so long. They're going to be like, is this the Braylon Allen breakout? Is this the Braylon Allen breakout? Like that window to sell is going to be so open. And if he hits, it's a home run pick because of the age and his skill set as a goal line back. Like he could end up falling into the end zone 10 times, which would be scrumptious. But out of rhythm, take us at the 3-5.
Oh, well, there's one guy I want to take, but he's not even on this list. And we just talked about him last night, but oh well. I guess I have to go with the second guy. And that's actually going to be Bucky Irvin, if I can actually make it work here. Yeah, here we go. All right. You're going to have to do it for me.
Yeah, I got you. You just sing the praises of Bucky while I do this.
Yeah, so just a quick recap. We actually talked about Blake Watson last night from the Tigers, and Bucky is kind of like that second guy in the receiving game. You know, he put up like 400 or 300 some odd like yards in receiving game there. I like Bucky here. He's kind of more of a patient runner. He can break tackles, even though he might be a little bit of a smaller guy. But he's one of those backs that can give you those chunk yards if you need it after the tackle. And if your QB gets into a hard situation, you know, he can get those little dump offs pretty nicely. So out of all the guys I was looking at, you know, Bucky is kind of like the second guy in, you know, you might want to take in the receiving game there.
Okay. Yeah, I love it. Evan and I did a little film study on him. We really liked his contact balance for his size. The testing kind of pushes him to day 3 and makes us cry a little bit. But if you want Blake Watson, I can take him for you there. He's on the chat. ADP of 500 in a 40 pick setting.
Yeah. Watson is going to be another unrated guy that's going to surprise some people.
Alrighty. Is that
Word.
me?
All right. Chuck, you know the drill. Take us home. Make some fun jokes on the way.
No, I was going to say I got no jokes for this one because I have to retain a little bit of credibility. I'm going Marshawn Lloyd. I kind of fell in love with him early in this process. And like I said, I never changed my mind. I'm just like that. A little bit Russian. I'm a little bit Italian. So you just convince yourself of something and then you don't change point of view. A little Irish in there as well. I just love him. He's got the NFL speed and quickness. He's elusive. He can pass protect. He can do a little bit of all the things that you just want to be able to see. But what are his problems, right? It's stuff that I think is easily fixable in the NFL. Ball security, limited exposure in the passing game. But I mean, like, that's just a lot of that stuff can be dependent on the offense that they run there. It's hard to take away a lot of stuff from the Cliff Kingsbury offense. So you just have to evaluate what this guy's talented at. I think he can be I think he's not as landing spot dependent. And I've seen a lot of people say that he might be. And just, you know, the way that he's really able to just break off at the ends of these runs just makes me really excited about what he can contribute to a dynasty roster right off the rip. So let me get some USC on my teams and we'll rock and roll.
Yeah, I know Jagger's head over heels for him. I trust Jagger. I just a little bit of a fumble problem, a little bit of a vision problem in the 3rd round. Who gives a frick though? Evan?
Exactly.
Send it.
Yeah, so people might start thinking after this pick that I'm a Michigan fan, but I am 100% a diehard Penn State fan, and we're going with Roman Wilson here. What I love about Roman Wilson is the fact that he's been used inside in the slot. He's been used outside wide. You look at the snap percentages that he received throughout his career. He has that versatility, which should allow him to stick around at the NFL level. We know that he's blazing fast. We know that he cleaned up his drops this year, which, okay, make the argument it's Michigan. They didn't really throw the ball all that much. We look at 300 pass reps that he had, 294-ish, somewhere in that range, routes that he was running. So seldomly blocking. Great. I don't want a blocking wide receiver like Gabe Davis. I mean, elite blocker. He's going to make great use for Evan Ingram there down in Jacksonville. But Roman Wilson doesn't do that. He gets out. He runs real fast. He catches the ball relatively well. 3rd round, yeah, I'll take a bet on a guy that has scheme versatility.
Listen, I tuned you out after you said you weren't a Michigan fan. I don't believe it. I don't buy it. I think Penn State fandom is a lie. You are a hoax. But Dan is true to himself, and he picked J.J. McCarthy in the 1st round. So obviously here he's going to take another Michigan player. I don't even think I can name a 3rd fantasy relevant one this year.
Yeah, man, I was really hoping that you guys weren't going to do this to me here because I do not want to be known as kind of a Keon Coleman stan or anything like that. But at some point, I think I kind of have to stop the slide here. I was very much looking forward to making, a different pick that probably would have been a lot more fun here. And Mike, for what it's worth, I was considering Baker when I went Burton there. So you're definitely right. Like, obviously there's some in between, but that's as high as like I was considering Baker. So kind of love that for you there at the 301. But I guess at the 308 here, boys, I will stop the Keon Coleman slide. I really don't like it. I feel kind of dirty about it. But, even in, if we call this a 12 team, like if we kind of extrapolate a little bit, like we're mid third at this point for a guy that may get, kind of early day 2 draft capital, I'll go Keon Coleman here.
Yep. It's a good bet to make. My comp for him is Spider-Man, but lazy. Like, he can snag the ball out of the air whenever he wants to. The issue is that why is he not figuring out how to separate? Like, why is he not figuring out how to route run? For what it's worth, when he played at Michigan State with Jaden Reed, top 24 receiver last year, he outproduced him and was younger and is bigger and better and cuter. So
I think real quick, I think one of the points that Harmon made that was really interesting as far as like what Coleman should be, right? Like more of that big slot guy. Now, if somebody like the Bengals took him and they made him potentially like the new Tyler Boyd, right? Like that is a little bit more interesting if he lands in a spot like that. But I think he's going to be like, let's not try and fit a square peg into a round hole with him at the next level. So it'll be really interesting to see how he pans out.
Yep. He's one of those more landing spot dependent guys, kind of like AD Mitchell. You just want to see an OC that's going to bring the most out of them.
For sure.
Which is why it's fun to be doing this on April 16th instead of April 26th. So here we are. Pete, do something fun.
All right. Well, this might not be super fun, but I'm going to go with Jalen Wright here. He's a guy, at this point in the draft, late 3rd round, I'm swinging for upside at this point. He's explosive. If he gets the ball in space, he's really hard to take down. Now, he's not the strongest guy. He's got a lean build, and he definitely has some refinement in his game. If he becomes a better route runner, I think he can be really explosive at the NFL level and productive. So I really like his makeup. I just think he's going to need some time to be groomed a little bit. So that's my worry taking him. But at this point in the draft, I'm swinging for upside. So I'll take right here.
Fast, extra spicy. Jalen Wright has all the explosiveness to make it work at the next level, but we just got to see where he goes and if he gets dominated in a backfield. Kind of like Izzy Abanikanda last year. Like, I really liked him, and he just got buried, unfortunately. So I think if we free Izzy, we can free Jalen Wright. Can't wait to see it. Toasty, finish us out.
Yeah, this is that part of the draft where so many of these guys, they're just going to be a part of our yearly roster churn in a year or two. So one guy I see here that I'm really interested in, and I'm really interested to see what happens a week and some change from now, is Cade Stover, tight end from Ohio State. Anyone who was a defensive end and did not make the transition to their offensive skill position until the year of 2022 has my interest, especially when he was the Big Ten tight end of the year just this last season. And as a prospect, though, just to talk about him real quick and get off of it, because at this point in the year, you've all heard everything everyone has had to say about all these prospects, their athleticism, their skill traits, all that. He progressed in creating better separation from 2022 to 2023. Sometimes I thought he was a little sticky with linebackers on him in terms of coverage, but this last season, I think the arrow's pointing up. We just want to get at the right spot along that trajectory curve, and hopefully there's more room to increase after this. I like Cade Stover.
I love the call out. I think you're the first person I've met that's not a diehard Ohio State fan that's like into Cade Stover. So it's interesting to hear the perspective. I love that he has changed positions and is still adjusting. Like, that leaves room to be excited. But just to recap the 3rd round for everybody, if you're audio only, we got Javon Baker at 3-1, Ricky Pearsall with the swag at 3-2, Malachi Corley at 3-3, Braylon Allen can't buy a beer yet 3-4, Bucky Irving can't ride all the rides at 3-5, Marshawn Lloyd can't hold on to the ball at 3-6, Roman Wilson can't block at 3-7, Keon Coleman can't run routes at 3-8, Jalen Wright, I actually like him a lot, and then Cade Stover still learning how to play offense at 3-10. So a lot of great things to see there. Gentlemen, it's time.
And now it's time to enter the dungeon.
It's where the money's paid. 4th round, it gets spicy, it gets exciting. I'm torn here between 2 running backs. I'm of the mindset that You want the day 1 and day 2 wide receivers. You want the day 1 quarterbacks, and then you just swing on running backs with a pulse. Audric Estime has all of the production, the excitement, the juice, the wiggle, or you can go Isaac Orendo, who has all of the measurables, but never really put it together at the college level because he was buried behind Jonathan Taylor and then buried behind Barry Linnell. I'm going to take Estime just because I loved what I saw on film. This dude is a dump truck that can jump over people. I don't care what his 40 time is at this point. With the 4-1, give me just a running back with wiggle. Who's next?
All right, I'm up. I was actually considering this guy with my last pick at the 3-2 if Ricky was gone as well. Everyone's looking for this year's Puka. I don't necessarily think – I think this guy has a lot more polish than Puka did, and I think he'll probably get drafted a lot higher. But in terms of size and traits and deployment, I think Jalen Polk could be utilized in a similar way, and I just really like his hands, his route suddenness. I think he's really polished and can push for playing time early. So that's kind of what I'm looking for when I take receivers.
Yep. Recently drafted in a mock draft, 32nd overall to the Chiefs, which would be hilarious.
Yeah, I just got the Chiefs' new wide receiver 1 in the 4th round. Thanks, Peter Schrager. That's great.
Yeah. Don't think he's actually going that high, but we'll see how it goes. Sam.
No, but yeah.
I mean, you wax poetic about Jalen Polk. I want to hear more.
No, that's all right. I think he'll go probably early day 2, and I think he'll come in and compete right away. His hands are awesome. His routes are subtle but really good. And I'm surprised that he went after some of these guys ahead of him.
Yeah, makes total sense. I like him a lot. Thank you, Bayou Bengal. If you guys are still listening at the 4-3, you're a sicko like me, so I would love for you to hit that like, hit that subscribe. We're trying to hit 500 by the draft. But Amanda wants to say hi to Sam, and she wants to see your next pick.
Oh, and she subscribed today, so congratulations.
Ooh, Amanda, we love you.
I had designs on really reaching here on a running back in this class. I was kind of looking for somebody that would come in and contribute right away. So, I'm looking at the pass catchers that are going to have a job from day 1. And then, there's still a couple really good wide receivers out there, but I can't let Jatavion Sanders go any further than this. He's going to have the draft capital from a team that wants him to play right away. Whether he has a huge impact in 24, probably not. But he needs to work on his separation a little bit, but he's going to get a lot of opportunity. And he's got a pretty good route tree. And we're talking about a guy that at tight end just had over 15 yards a catch. That's almost Kyle Pitts territory, and like 7 yards after the catch. So, in Superflex, tight ends are not exactly a dime a dozen. So I'm not going to let him pass me by.
Yeah. Before the combine, people were taking Jatavion Sanders juicy high, and then we saw a size speed freak not be as big or as fast as we thought.
Yeah, what do you run, a 4.69 or something like that?
Yeah, which is still I think it was upper third for tight ends. It's still like what you want to see from somebody that is able to attack the middle of the field. But it's a big question of whether it was because he's able to do that or because he had A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy drawing the attention of the defense. But Chris, where's the little man? I want to see him make the last pick.
He phoned it in. He had to go up and get some milk in him, so he phoned it in. I think he's with Chuck. They're at the bar, both pounding down milk. Maybe not from the same source. Hopefully not. But look, we've all been talking about these guys ad nauseum. The draft is right around the corner. I can take the obvious pick, but I want to take a flyer here, a guy that I enjoy playing CFF and a lot of C2C. Out of Air Force, we're all looking for that next Puka Nacua or Tank Dell, but give me that next James Robinson this late in the draft. Most likely will go undrafted at the next level, but John Lee Eldridge. 1,300 yards in 2 seasons, 1,400 all scrimmage yards, 23 combined touchdowns. At his pro day, he ran a 4.56, which puts him right around that Blake Corum spot. His 10-yard puts him in the Marshawn Lloyd position. So you're not going to find him in the player pool. I will take a placeholder, but just John Lee Eldridge is a guy that I might try to walk away with late in some of my drafts. I'll take Reese Zamet. Hopefully none of you guys were planning on taking the foreigner and Reese Zamet. And by the way, Mike, Braylon Allen can drink up here in Canada, baby. Let's go.
Man, too bad he's going to be living in Dallas and won't be able to drink there. But I love the Air Force call out. I love the love the Air Force call out. I love the rugby call out here for Luis. I mean, people want him to be a thing with the new kickoff returns. He could be a thing if your league has that built in, but in your standard leagues, he's probably just going to be a fun guy to watch. Out of rhythm, who is your last pick?
Well, I mean, we talked about Bucky Irvin here a little bit. Well, this guy, he played at Temple. He transferred to Vanderbilt, and he played 1 year with the Wildcats. And I think I'm gonna go with Ray Davis here because I mean he's another one of these guys got good vision. You know, even though he's a little bit bigger back for being like 260 some odd pounds. He's good in those check down. With the check down anyways. And he's good in the open field too a little bit, So I mean, he gets what he needs to do, what he needs to get done quickly. And the other quick thing is, he's actually had 7 touchdowns in the receiving game on top of his 14 rushing that he had this year with the Wildcats. So, and he kind of gives me that, that DeAndre Swift vibes a little bit, as you can put it that way. Not quite a DeAndre Swift, but he gives me those vibes when I was actually watching him. So I'm going to go with Ray Davis here for my last pick, even though I wanted maybe a quarterback in here, but I think a couple of these quarterbacks that we might want in our dynasty leagues, we can get them off the waiver wire. But I'm not going to pass up a guy like a Ray Davis.
Okay. Love the Ray Davis call out. He is only 7 months away from being able to rent a car on his own, so we're all really excited for that for him. Listen, we're going to sit here. We're going to stare at Chuck through the camera, and if he doesn't make a pick, then I'm going to pick the worst player that I can think of for him. Give him a second.
Did that.
Give him a second.
Where's that?
Chuck is he's too good to draft in the 4th round. He's like, I can't be bothered with that.
He said I would rather not. So I'm going to give him Joe Milton, the Lamborghini with no steering wheel. The nightmare himself, the former Scouts quarterback 1 or quarterback 2. You love to see Joe Milton propaganda. Don't actually draft him in the 4th round. To everybody at home, if he doesn't go in the first 2 rounds, he's probably not going to pan into a thing. But I tell you what, I'm going to watch every Joe Milton preseason game because he is hilarious to watch. But Evan, carry us out.
Yeah, this is a true homer pick here, and going with Theo Johnson. So, yeah, Penn State tight end. What did we see last year? Penn State has some very athletic tight ends, and they typically don't pan out. But who knows? Things may be different. We got a player profiler comp to Luke Musgrave, and I hear people like Luke Musgrave around the league. You combine that with the fact that Penn State's offensive coaches, the entire staff has basically said this is the best tight end class to be able to come through. The tight ends they've had on their team recently have just been super athletes. You know what? Why not take a chance on athleticism? At this point, there's no premium on the tight end position, so I'll throw a Hail Mary, and the 1% chance that it hits, I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, at the 4.7, you could do worse than swinging on a super athletic tight end and hoping he turns into something. I have a feeling that Dan is going to swing on either another really athletic guy or a really polished guy, but we'll see what he does.
Yeah. Going to kind of keep the theme going here with swinging on, another really enticing tight end. I actually thought this guy was probably going to go between the 3.8 and me going here again at the 4.8, but I will go Jaheim Bell. Just an absolute demon from like a missed tackles per reception force guy. And look, these are the types of guys like down here. I'm more than kind of fine shooting for upside. And, you know, I hear a lot about like he's small, he's on the smaller side. You know, he kind of might be that H back in the mold of, you know, Aaron Hernandez. Sorry, I just brought him up on the stream. But I mean, you look at some of the recent tight ends that have come out, like, you know, 6'2", 6'2" to 6'4", kind of in that 240 range. Like, he's really not all that much smaller than like a Sam Laporta or like even like a Trey McBride, right? Like, there's really not a huge size difference there, especially when you kind of look at wingspan and hand size and everything like that. So, look, obviously he's got to kind of land in the right spot, but you know, I think about maybe him landing in like KC later on in the draft. Like, is that the eventual guy that, you know, does he take over what they want Noah Gray to be eventually? And they have super ideas for somebody like Jaheim Bell, but I'll take the upside on somebody like that right here.
I won't take Noah Gray slander. I was at his cousin's wedding yesterday. But Jaheim Bell, he's a chess piece for a good offensive coordinator to use. I can't get you out of my DMs. You keep sharing Jaheim Bell propaganda, and it's working. I love him. I will be picking him up off of waiver wires. I think he might go a little higher than people are giving him credit for right now. But, Pete, we got 2 to go. And you are muted.
Sorry about that.
That's all
I'm
right.
gonna go with Isaac Gerendo. I'm probably pronouncing the name incorrectly there, but I think a lot of times with running backs, we see these guys that have all the speed, all the talent, but they're not very good pass blockers. And so they struggle to get on the field because, you know, that's a big gateway. You hear about special teams, guys get on the field that way, they make their mark. I think for running backs, a big deal for young guys, especially in the later rounds, is can you pass block? And I know that's not the most exciting thing to talk about, but he's a guy that can hit the edge. He's got elite speed. He's a decent sized back. I wouldn't say he's a big body, but he's about 220. And, you know, he's got all the traits to be a solid producer at the next level. And I think he can get on the field early just because he's a willing blocker. And I think that'll kind of help him out. And at this point, I'm just looking for a guy that might be able to stick with some decent upside. And he's got blazing speed. So I'll take him here at my last pick in the 4th.
We love to see swinging on running backs this late. If they have a pulse and they're on a roster, they're a handcuff and it could work. Yeah. But let's close it out. Tim?
Man, I never thought I'd be made to feel some kind of way about the 10th pick of the 4th round. If this was an actual league that my money was in, I'd take Spencer Rattler. But I want to take the opportunity to talk to all of you about a guy that I really like. I'm pulling my inspiration from Chris, who just educated all of us on a player that I had not watched any of. I'm sure you guys have heard of Carson Steele. I am from the rough geographic area between Chicago and Rockford by the Wisconsin state line. So I grew up a huge Northern Illinois Huskies football fan, MAC football. Carson Steele played at Ball State. He bet on himself. He transferred to UCLA, and I love that. You look at a guy like Rasheen Ali, I thought he maybe could have gotten out of Marshall. Carson Steele, real quick to get off it, he saw less carries, but his yards per carry was pretty much unfazed. It was 5.1 against the higher level of competition, and his long rush pretty much right up for par. He got 42 on his longest rush this last year against elevated defensive competition, previously 48, 49, yada, yada, yada. I like the kid. He's tough. I think he's a 3-down player. I think he's a little quicker than people think he is. I think he has good hands, too. He's not going to be a 3rd down back, but I think he's a guy that just keep your eye on, tuck him at the end of your taxi squad, what have you. He's got my endorsement.
And let's also remember the fact that he owns an alligator. What is his name? Crocky J? I mean, any player that owns an alligator, you just got to be able to love him, right? And that hair. I mean, he's got the flow.
Oh, my God, yeah.
All right. If we have lettuce and he owns an alligator, you got to move him up the ranks. Those are the rules. I don't make them. But, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. It has been an absolute pleasure. The listeners at home, real quick, we're just going to go through. We're going to say our 4th round pick and then where you can find us so that you can find all of the wonderful work that these people do. So I was at the 401. I took Audric Estime. You can find me on Twitter at FF Mike Cash with a K. Next up.
I'm Bernie. I took Jalen Polk at the 402. You can find me on Twitter at csportsbros or username Bernie.
I'm Sam or Samwise. You can find me on Twitter at buy and sell you.
Yeah, Chris Battistill, FF Chris B on the X machine. I took John Lee Eldridge the third in the 4th round at the 4-4. I did use I don't even know his first name, Reese Zamet as the placeholder.
It's because Eldridge Jr. was taken already.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I'm Jamie from Outer Rhythm Fantasy Sports. You can find me at Outer Rhythm Fan on X. And I took Ray Davis.
Chuck Bass decided he's too cool for us. He is truly a casual and a MAGA person. And he took Joe Milton at the 406 because he was tardy and despicable.
All right. I'm Evan, other half of the RPG podcast with Mike here.
Woohoo.
And I went with the homer pick of Theo Johnson.
What's up, guys? Wiz, you can find me on Twitter at DeWiz_FFB, and I went with Jaheim Bell at the 408.
What's up, guys? My name's Pete Nova. You can find me on the Face Off Sports Network. My Twitter handle or X is Supernova38. That's 2 R's. I selected Isaac Garendo in the 4th round at the 9 spot.
Word.
I'm Tim Bullen. You can find me at Tim_Bullen5 on Twitter, X. And I took Carson Steele with the 10th pick in the 4th round.
Awesome. Thanks again for everybody for being here. Thanks again for everybody for listening. We are sponsored by Trophy Smack. Use code RPG at checkout. We're sponsored by W. Use code FFRPG at checkout. Just plug in FFRPG everywhere you buy things and see if it works or not. But everybody say bye.
Thanks for having us, Mike.
Bye.